Welcome to this presentation on BSAC eLearning. What we're going to cover is what BSAC eLearning is. We're going to look at how you access and use BSAC eLearning. We're going to look at the benefits of BSAC eLearning and how your club training can integrate with the e-learning experience for your students. We're also going to look at the frequently asked questions and then have some more questions at the end. So what is BSAC eLearning? Well, we've got two types of digital packs at the moment. We've got the e-learning packs and the digital training packs, and I wanted to explain what the difference is between the two. So with the e-learning pack, the students get the digital student manual, which they can download, a digital version of the tables if required with that DTP grade or that SDC grade, and they get a digital diving manual as appropriate. So in the example of Ocean Diver, that would be the diving manual. In addition to that, they get online theory presentations and online modular theory assessments. So effectively, we're delivering the theory lessons online in their own time and the assessment as well. With the digital training packs, these contain the digital student manuals with the tables as appropriate and also a digital diving manual as appropriate. So again, in the example of Ocean Diver, that would be the diving manual. But what it doesn't have is the online theory presentations and the online modular theory assessments. So the digital training packs are designed for those that want digital materials, but are going to do their theory sessions and their theory assessments in the club environment. In terms of e-learning, at the moment, we have less e-learning packs than we do digital training packs. So currently we have Adventure Diver, Discovery Diver, Ocean Diver, Advanced Ocean Diver, Sports Diver and Dive Leader. So we don't have e-learning currently for Advanced Diver in the DTP grades. In terms of SDCs, we have a few SDCs that have e-learning at the moment, which is Oxygen Administration. We also have EDI, so Equality, Diversity and Inclusivity course, AD Awareness, Shore Surveyor, Underwater Surveyor, and the DFA Awareness is the digital guide only. It's not in e-learning currently. So with those courses, the ones that are in red, the EDI and the AED, are ones that are free for all members to access. And the others are the e-learning packs. Oxygen Administration is there, obviously it ties in with Dive Leader, so you can have e-learning for Dive Leader and e-learning for Oxygen Administration for those elements of the courses. In 2025, you'll see an addition of instructor training into the e-learning environment, and we'll be adding more SDCs as we go along through the year. So a lot of the questions we get are, what is in the e-learning content? Well, the e-learning content is standardized, so what is delivered meets each requirement for our individual diver training grades or SDCs, and as appropriate, the ISO requirement. So some of our courses have an ISO equivalency and an ISO standard to attach to them, and all of the content required by that international standard is incorporated into the e-learning content. Put really simply, our BSAC eLearning is the BSAC theory visual aids delivered with a voiceover using the BSAC instructor manual notes. So what we've got at the top here is you can see that we've got the visual aid as it would be perhaps presented in the club environment, which is the PowerPoint slide. And then to the right of that is the instructor manual, which has the additional information. So you should remember from our instructor courses that the bullet points in the bold here are then replicated on the slides, but there's also additional information in the instructor manual that we want to convey to the students. So effectively, we're presenting the visual aids, but talking through the instructor manual so that the students are delivered all the must-know information and all that standardized content when they do the e-learning. And just below, you can see what the e-learning actually looks like. So it's played in a video. Those slides are put into a video presentation where a BSAC instructor reads through the instructor manual points and delivers those slides as if they would over an online presentation. We do have an instructor example page as well, so it's worth having a look at that, and I'll be putting all these links in the end. So these pages are available to all, and they give you a little flavour of what that looks like. So when someone goes into BSAC eLearning, when they've purchased the pack, they'll be able to see this in their My BSAC when they're logged in. So if they're logged in, they can go to eLearning, and we'll look at how you access that later, and they'll get all the different modules for the pack that they've purchased. There'll be a button here that says download your student guide, which will download the PDF student manual. And then these are the online e-learning modules that you can start studying. So if we take a look at OT1, for example, this is just the example page, which you can all access. Then what you'll see is what that looks like for the student. So you'll see there's a flip manual, which goes through the student guide. So this is the student notes. You can enlarge this by clicking to read so that it's full screen. And then if you click the play button, you'll see the video time length. These are the delivery of the theory presentations. So if I click here, I'm going to just fast forward it a little bit because we have video content as well, but you should see now that this looks just like the theory presentations. So as that goes through, this goes through the slides as you would on the BSAC presentations. So it's just a voice through presentation, and you can look at this in your own time. This one's available to everybody to have a look at as an example, and they all follow the same format. If I come out of the larger page and back to here, and we'll have a look at this a bit later on. There's also an end of module quiz, which we'll come on to in more detail, but the student completes the end of module quiz, answers the questions, and if they get 80%, then they can move on to the next module, and that goes against their record. So how do you access e-learning then? Well, if you need to purchase it, the first point is really the shop. So if we have a look at the shop environment, so BSAC shop is in the main navigation at the top. And then what you'll see is a variety of materials, but you'll see BSAC eLearning and digital only training materials. So remember the difference that we said is the digital only is the manuals in digital format, and the e-learning is where you have the online presentations. So if we go into BSAC eLearning, then what you'll see here is buy or access your e-learning in this section. So everything we have in e-learning is kept in here at the moment. We have two different e-learning sections for diving, which is learning to dive or the more advanced courses. So our entry level courses are in this module on the left, which is Adventure Diver, Discovery Diver and Ocean Diver e-learning. Our next grade of courses, anything advanced ocean diver and above, sits in this module. It's just because of the way our website is, and we are looking to make this simpler in the future, but we've got the Learn to Dive and then the progressive courses. So if I go into the Learn to Dive modules here, then you'll see all the different courses laid out. And you've got, I am not a BSAC member or I am a BSAC member. Obviously, the difference for that is that members get a preferential rate and that they're able to put their membership number in, which aligns the course pack to them. If you've got new people starting to register, they can join up as a member and buy the pack at the same time. So it's got a slightly different form because they haven't got a My BSAC account. So looking at going into this then, if I go into the Ocean Diver module, this looks just like the section that you've got access to have a look at, but obviously all the modules are there. And if I start with OT1 again, and I just look at this, you'll see that as we looked at before, the click manual is there, but this is the live section where you do the quizzes. So when the person is ready to do the quiz, what they have here is a form to fill in, and this is so that they can fill the form in to say what their email address is and their BSAC membership number, and then that will align with their BSAC record. So if I put my details in here, I can start my quiz, I've got a maximum of 5 minutes and a pass mark of 80. If I click continue, then all the questions will come up here, and then it's just a tick option. So, and I've got my timer at the top. I start to work through the questions. And start to work through them. There's 5 in each section. And then if I click the wrong answer, if I click couple and just run through and say I'm finished, I can confirm that I finished, or I can go back, so just to be assured. And then it's given me 3 out of 5. So the 2 that I've clicked as incorrect as well, to help me going forwards, what it's done is it said that answer is incorrect, this was the correct answer. So it's giving me the information so that I can learn from it. If I retake that exam, they're from randomly generated questions, so I won't get the same questions again, but having seen the right answer, I might be able to go back, revise, and then from that, I can learn from it and move forwards. But I'll get different questions next time when I retake it because I haven't met the pass mark. If I have met the pass mark of 80%, then that will then allow me to download a certificate, and that certificate can then be sent to my club. And in addition to that, it will go on my BSAC record that I have completed that theory lesson, and that will happen automatically. And that happens 4 times a day at 1 o'clock and 7 o'clock, morning and evening. So there is a slight delay, but that will update. So where do we look at e-learning if we're logged in already and we're not going to purchase it and we've already got it? Well, you log into my BSAC, and then there's the 2 different sections which I just showed you previously, which is the online learning, learn to dive section, which is the adventure diver, discovery diver, ocean diver. And then for crossovers and further training, it's advanced ocean diver and above, which is advance your scuba training. And those can be found in the top navigation. So if I go back into this just to show you, in training, you'll see BSAC eLearning, and that's where that hub is. If you're already logged in and you have purchased already, that's an easy way to drop in, and then the 2 different URLs are from there. So when you purchase the pack, so when you've gone through the shop, what the person will see is a form to fill in. So if they're a member, this is the full name, the membership number, and the e-learning pack that they want. That will then take them to a payment link to be processed for the payment. And once that payment has gone through, they will receive a PDF which has their URN for the course pack that they've purchased. And that just means that they can keep that on their record just to prove that they have bought the pack, which again is a requirement for ISO standard qualifications, is that the student has the pack with their training course. As I said, it's processed within 1 working day. E-learning will be added to my BSAC. So it's a manual process currently. So that comes through and it needs to be actioned manually. With the new My BSAC, we hope that that will improve and we'll be able to do that automatically. So we'll be able to reduce that time. But currently, it's a manual process. So within 1 working day of purchase, the student will receive an email that looks a little bit like this. I know there's a lot of detail on there, but it will just show you, it just shows you that they've got instructions of how to access that within my BSAC and within their records. But I had just shown you where you can access those as well. And then we've had a look at e-learning and what it looks like. So they can go through, log into my BSAC, complete the e-learning as I just showed you. And then once they've completed going through the flip books and the presentations, they come to the completing assessment, which we just. So it's really important for the forms just to remember a couple of key things. Once someone has completed the modules and they've been through the flipbook and the videos, they're ready to do the assessment. And this is the form that you just saw on the eLearning portal. The end of module quiz requires an email address and a membership number. It's really important that that email address is the same email address as the My BSAC account, because that is how it corresponds in the database, and it also needs the membership number. So if there's a different email address in there and there's a different membership number, the record will not get updated. So it's really important that that happens. I think you will have seen on the screen, if it's auto-populated from Google, sometimes it can put the wrong information in. So my phone number went into the membership section, so I needed to overtype that. So that's really key for it to be updated. For all of the diver training grades and the oxygen administration, then this automatically updates in the My BSAC record 4 times a day at 1 and 7. AED is a quiz on its own and it's a manual process at the moment. Again, with new My BSAC, that will change, but the AED has to be manually input, so there is a bigger delay in the record updates for the AED. Once the module successfully completed, I didn't successfully complete mine. I got 60%, not 80%. So when you do that, there's a certificate to download per module, and that can be passed on to the club, kept by the student. But there is that digital record that comes into our database anyway. So let's have a look at some of the benefits of e-learning. So for the students themselves, what it allows is the students to do their theory learning at their own pace and in their own style. And this caters for many different neurodiversities. And the reason for that is people can do sections of a theory lesson, so they can stop it in smaller sections. As you saw, the first video of the ocean diver in OT1 was 11 minutes. So we talk about, when we're doing training, about 20 minutes being optimum for someone to take in the information. So these are really short sections. So they can do a section at a time. They can go back and revisit those sections until they feel that they've really grasped all the information. It's also about completing it in their own time. So we know that people are time poor and have family, work commitments, other commitments outside of that. So what this enables is flexibility to fit around different lifestyles, to make sure that they can complete the theory as and when suits them and around different things. So it makes it more accessible for people, hopefully for us to get more people into our clubs. It can also take days rather than weeks for them to fully complete the theory sessions. So feedback from students that we've had over the past couple of years has been that theory training can be once a week, over a month or several months. And this enables them to complete it in a smaller time frame, and it also keeps them going with that theory because they're moving on to the next sections. So it's progressively building up and they haven't got big gaps in between the sessions. It's a modular assessment. So what we want people to do is absorb the information that they're taking in. Everybody learns differently, and we're not after doing a memory test for people. What we want to do is just check that the information is absorbed as they go along. It's standardized delivery. So we know that in the e-learning, all of the content required by the ISO standard, if it's affiliated to one, and by our BSAC grades, is covered in those theory lessons. What it can do is it can allow that club interaction to be more practical, fun, and social. So we know that theory is really important, and we know that our clubs can deliver really good lessons, but it makes sure that the club interaction with the student is based around the pool time and about dry practical time, and also around the actual in-water lessons, which is the exciting bit of diving that everyone wants to get to. The other benefit is that we know that members are struggling to get further training in clubs at times if there's a shortage of instructors. So it also allows your already trained members to access the next DTP levels of theory all the way up to dive leader, so that they can also get on with their own progression within the club environment. And there's also a home environment. This can have pros and cons, but it means that someone can take themselves away into a quiet room to focus on their theory training. We know that we've got different situations with different clubs, and sometimes the theory has to be delivered in a noisy environment, and that could be in the waiting area for a pool, or it could be in a classroom situation where it is quiet, or it could be in a pub. So it's again catering to that. Diversity and what's needed by the student. And also, as an NGB, we are really trying to focus on our environmental impact. And with e-learning, what we've got is just the same as with digital, is that we've got all of our materials online, so we're not printing as much, which is to do with our environmental impact. But also, if the students aren't travelling, then we're also looking at our carbon emissions. Now, we know we still have to travel to the pool, but there's little things that can make a difference that we're trying to move towards. But let's also have a look at the benefits of e-learning for clubs. So what it means is that you don't have to coordinate theory dates that suit multiple students. We know how difficult this can be. So it enables you to deliver the training in a more timely and flexible manner to fit with the pool. It's one less thing to coordinate and organise. So if you haven't got to coordinate all of the different theory sessions and get everybody's dates aligned, it enables you to just focus on getting those pool dates booked in. It's about delivery time for courses as well. We know that volunteers put a huge amount of time into our clubs, and we know that some clubs are short on resource. So we're looking at maximising the club activity. So by doing the e-learning, the students can do that, and then everything is focused around those practical sessions, which hopefully also allows more diving and more practical sessions, more diving, getting people through and going out and doing the sport that you love. It's about a relationship with new members. It's less admin and more fun. So we know that, as I said, theory is really important. We know we can make it fun, but sitting through a long theory session is not quite as exciting as going in the pool and actually doing the diving practicals. It also means that if your club doesn't have access to classroom facilities or has to pay for classroom facilities, that you don't need these for part of your training. And we're hoping that this will help some clubs with reduced instructor burnout. So by enabling them to focus on less of the diver training in terms of all of the practical elements and not worrying about the theory, we're hoping that this will spread the load a bit lighter and help with instructor burnout. And again, the environmental impact comes into it as well for the club benefits. So let's have a look at how you can embrace e-learning in the club and how you can make sure that you've still got that relationship and you're still making sure that the student has help if they need it with the theory. So this is just some options for Ocean Diver as examples, and we'll be adding more to the website as we go along for all of the other lessons. These are just some ideas, and really the key point here is that they should be before the pool session or the open water session, and that they absolutely should not impede on pool time because that is at a premium. But you could get people to come down to the pool a little bit earlier, or you could do these in your surface interval in the instance of the open water session. But these are how you can consolidate that learning that's happened online. So in OT1, it's all about the basics and basics kit. So before the practical session OS1, you could spend a little bit more time going through the kit and putting it together in a dry environment if you can't get by the side of the pool, and consolidate that knowledge about the cylinder, BC regulator and kit features, because you've probably got a range in your club of different equipment, and on the PowerPoint slides that have been delivered, they will only have seen one example. If you move on to OT2 and we look at what we could do before OS2, then really the dry practical of gas analysis and a bit of a chat around DCI could be something that you could do as a bit of a workshop. We talk about gas analysis in OT2. It'd be great if your club or if any individuals have got an analyzer to bring that down. You don't need to have a mixed gas in the cylinder. It's the principles about analysing. So you could analyse and check the air contents, and then it's brought that to life. And you could also then talk about the signs and symptoms of DCI, because that's really something that we really want identified, and it just consolidates that knowledge. For OT3, something you could do is a bit more of these practical calculations as they come in. They're delivered online, but to really reinforce has the student being able to do it and can we help them to make sure that it's really simple, we could look at the rule of thirds calculation and do some examples and also do in-person signals review. So something that's a bit more fun, it's a bit more practical. We're not going through the lecture all over again, but just consolidating that knowledge. And then with OT4, you can look at before OS4, delivering tables and computer workshops. So this could be consolidating that tables knowledge, putting some examples in and working them through with the students in small groups in a workshop. So practical examples of running through tables and also bringing a computer and showing the features of a real computer and then how that can also be used for planning. So looking at OT5 and OS5, what can we do with that? Well, the potential is we can look at gas planning calculations. So again, quite a calculation-based delivery, but it's good to go into a workshop and work through some proper examples with gas planning as well, so that that's done before the open water section. And then moving on to OT6. So for OT6, it's really something that you could just do in a surface interval, but in between 001 and 002, or if you're waiting in waves of divers, and it's really a dry practical about thinking about signs and symptoms of DCI, narcosis, O2 toxicity, contaminated gas, and asking the students to think about what first aid treatment's appropriate. So that would really consolidate the OT5 knowledge. Let's have a little talk about what can really damage a relationship potentially between us and the student. And one of those things is not accepting e-learning. Not accepting e-learning after the students put a lot of time into doing it and it being standardized and it meeting all of the requirements can be really detrimental to the club's relationship because they've put the time and effort into it and they have completed the modules. So that's one of the things that we see that can be really detrimental. Retesting is another one. We need to really think about inclusivity here. They have been tested on the modules as they go along to the same standard that they're tested in a club environment. Retesting somebody, especially if they've done something a few months in advance and then not retesting someone that's done it in a branch in the same time frames, is really not inclusive, and we need to think about how we're treating people. They've met the standard, and once they've met the standard, that lesson is signed off. So there's some key points to remember there, which is people learn differently. We're not asking for a memory test. What we want to do is just consolidate that knowledge, and people will learn as they go along with the practical, because putting the practical in as well will also even further enhance that knowledge and put it into real life. The students have invested in learning to dive and you want them to become full club members. So we really want to encourage them and reward what they've already done. And the e-learning materials meet all of BSAC standards and the associated ISO standards, and they're the same content as the club materials. Clubs don't have and instructors don't have the authority to add or detract from the diver training program. It is a set of, it meets set standards, and that's under the remit of the NDO. So if somebody has completed the e-learning, they have completed the theory modules. So let's have a look at some of the FAQs that we get asked. Why is there an additional cost for e-learning? Well, there are platform user costs. So as with all software packages, we have user costs for e-learning, and that's why the digital packs are cheaper than the e-learning packs. We try to keep these at an absolute minimum, but there is a cost involved. So one of the questions is, why can't all instructors access for free? And this is because of the costs again. So we are trying to keep costs low, and we have materials available on a test page. Instructors do have access to all of the materials because effectively all that's delivered in the e-learning is the actual visual aids read through from the instructor manual. So all of that information is in the instructor manuals for the various grades that are covered in e-learning. Is BSAC trying to take over club training? Absolutely not. What we want to do is support, and we want to support clubs better, and e-learning is part of that package. What we want to make sure is that if clubs are struggling for time, volunteers and instructors, that we can help support those training needs as necessary. And as a national governing body, we're really committed to ensuring accessibility to the sport and improving our environmental credentials. So one of the other things we hear quite a lot is our instructors want to deliver all theory in the club. We really love that our instructors are passionate about diver training, that they want to deliver theory lessons in club. And for some people, this would be the best way for them to learn and they'll really enjoy it. However, what we do really need to ensure is that we're offering potential new divers the choice of how they want to learn. For some people, it can be the deciding factor in whether they can join or whether they can learn to dive or not, just due to work, lifestyle, and family commitments. So, if we want to encourage as many people as possible to join the club and we want to be accessible, we need to offer different options for training. The great news about diving is that it's a practical hobby, it's a practical sport. So, there's always going to be that club involvement in the pool environment or sheltered water or open water. And there's always going to be the need for that face to face training, which really does embody the club spirit. But what we've just got to be aware of is that for some people, they have restricted commitments and they also have restricted time. And if we have more people, then that time can be used to help support the club, but it can be spread more thinly. So that's why we need to make sure that what we're doing is for the best interests of our new diver trainees. And for some, sitting in a classroom environment or sitting in an environment and learning from sat in a lesson is not suitable for their learning needs. So we just need to be aware it's about the student. They've invested in learning to dive. We should be offering them how they want to learn. So just in summary, what we've had a look at then, we've had a look at what e-learning is. We've had a look at how you access and use e-learning. We've had a look at some of the benefits for the student and for the club. And we've looked at how you could potentially integrate club training with e-learning in the setting of Ocean Diver. There are more frequently asked questions on the website, and I'd encourage you, if you've got any questions on e-learning, then please contact me, Sophie Heptonstall, so sophieh@bsac.com, or please send an email to drt@bsac.com.